My name is Eugeniu, so I'm from, I work with Jolocom and we are from Berlin. We're a small team basically implementing some of these open standards, and I want to actually take you on a journey. Basically, what does it look like creating an identity, adding some credentials about yourself, and maybe interacting with the service. So this is all fully open source based on the aforementioned standards, so the DID, DDoS, and verifiable credentials. I'm going to show some snippets of interesting things in the meantime while things are loading. Well, I might have to set up a password, so I'm using a wallet which will store the credentials, so the information about me. It's stored client-side, encrypted, and this is basically the password to encrypt that data. So, can I? Yeah. Hold up, maybe I can actually use my keyboard. Wow. Right, so now I need to basically collect a certain amount of entropy, so there's no central authority that registers the DIDs, so how do you actually make sure that the two DIDs are not going to collude? Where's the collision resistance coming from? So most of the time you'll see basically cryptographic keys generated, asymmetric keys, and then the public key might be hashed or something along those lines. You have collision resistance, and that generates a random identifier. So this is now going to basically register my identity. So our DID DDoS are anchored on Ethereum, so you have to wait a transaction or two. While that is happening, I might just show you what the actual DDoS look like. So this is what a Jolocom DDO looks like. So it's nothing too crazy. It's a JSON linked data document. We see we have some public keys, a public key used for authentication, and then we have a proof of integrity, just a linked data signature. So basically what we've seen presented a few minutes ago. And we can see basically the DID itself, the identifier, so it's DID, YOLO, which is basically the resolution mechanism, and then the hash, the cryptographic hash of the public key, which would be 256 bits, I guess. So the identity is still being created. I can see the loading screen here, so it should be done in about 10 seconds. In the meantime, I can show you a credential. So this is how we model information about ourselves. So you can see here again something that was kind of shown. We have an issuer, which is a DID. We have a receiver, which is the DID, and then we have a signature. We have a claim. We notice that the issuer and the receiver are the same DID, and the creator of the signature is also basically the same DID. So this is me saying that I have this email cryptographically signed by me, so self-signed credential in that sense. And we are done with the registration, so we get the seed phrase or the usual suspects for recovery. And this is basically what the wallet might look like. We might have more things here. We're kind of starting modest with things we can model. So I can add an email address, and I'll add a name. Let's see how to correct. Right, so this is a self-signed credential that says that I have this name and email address issued by me. And I might quickly also showcase the ID authentication, basically. So what you might see is a website that allows you to log in with Jolocom. Now, this doesn't have to be Jolocom. This is the ID authentication. So I would assume something like Sovereign, Uport, and so on and so forth should be able to we should be sharing the same protocol for doing these things, obviously, because we are pretty much sharing the same data. So if you don't mind, I'll try to get them on the same screen. There we go. So I can basically scan the QR code on my device before I do the infinite thingy. There we go. Gotta do it, you can't resist it. So we basically see the DID of the requester. And then the claims that are requested. So in that QR code, we encode basically, this is who I am. I want an email address. I want a name. And these are the restrictions. So it might say something like the issuer and the subject should be two different people. So it cannot be self-signed. None of that was there. So it was basically just give me an email and a phone number. So this is a very sort of trustworthy service. And once I pass both of them, I can share the claims. And the claims are basically shared with the service. And they should arrive there in a second. And generally speaking, this is the ID, DDoS, verifiable credentials, and the ID authentication in the real world. Check out the GitHub repository if you want. We're fully open source, and just catch me anywhere. So yeah, thank you.